Good morning. Welcome to my class. Today, we're going to discuss about exponential expressions. Competency. The learner applies the laws involving positive integral exponents to zero and negative integral exponents. And our goals, after going through this module, you are expected to, number 1, rewrite the expressions with negative exponents into positive integral exponents. Number 2, simplify expressions with zero and negative integral exponents. Now, looking back, in this part, we're going to recall the law of exponents. Let's define first what is an exponent. Class, exponent, it tells how many times a number or a base uses as a factor. Once again, exponent, it tells how many times a number or base uses as a factor. Let's have the first law of exponents, product of powers. X raised to m times x raised to n is equals to x raised to m plus n. In product of powers class, it states that if you are multiplying having same base or having or with common base, all you need to do is copy the common or same base and add their exponents. So as you can see in the illustration, we have same base x. So all we need to do, we just copy the common base, which is x, and then we're going to add the exponents m and n. That's why we got x raised to m plus n. Now, let's have examples. Number 1, 2 raised to 3 times 2 raised to 2. So as you can see, we are multiplying here common or same base. So all we need to do, just copy the common base or same base 2 and add their exponents. The exponents are 3 and 2, so 3 plus 2. That's why we have 2 raised to 3 plus 2. Now, let's add the exponents. So we will have 2 raised to 5. And let's solve 2 raised to 5. Once again, exponent, it tells how many times a number or base uses as a factor. So as you can see here, the exponent is 5. So, meaning to say, we're going to use 2 as a factor 5 times. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And the answer is 32. Alright? Now, let's have the next example. Number 2. Quantity of x cubed y squared multiplied by the quantity of xy raised to 4. Alright, so as you can see, we have here two variables or bases, x and y. So let's have first the first common base, x, and all we need to do, copy the common or same base x and then add their exponents. 3 and 1, 3 plus 1 yun. Alright, and then let's have the next common or same base y. Copy the common base y and then add their exponents 2 and 4. So we will have x raised to 3 plus 1 and then y raised to 2 plus 3. Alright, simplify. We'll have x raised to 4, y raised to 6. By the way, class, kung wala kayong nakikitang exponent on that certain variable or number or base, meaning to say the exponent there is 1. Alright? So once again, class, that's the product of powers, or also known as the product rule. If you're multiplying having or with same base or common base, all you need to do is copy the common or same base and then add their exponents. Now, let's proceed to the next. The next law is the power of a power. Quantity x raised to m raised to 2 is equals to x raised to mn. So, in this law, if you have a given, like for example, you have a base and an exponent and enclosed by a parenthesis, and you also have an exponent outside that parenthesis. All you need to do, class, is multiply the exponent outside to the inside of the parenthesis, or to the exponent inside the parenthesis. So as you can see here, we have an exponent inside the parenthesis and an exponent outside, which is n. So all we need to do is multiply the exponent inside of the parenthesis, which is m, to the exponent outside of the parenthesis, which is n. So m times n, that's mn. Alright, that's why we have x raised to mn. Examples. Number 1, quantity x squared raised to 3. Alright, so as you can see, x squared is enclosed by a grouping symbol or parenthesis, and you have the exponent 3 outside. So all you need to do is multiply the exponents 2 and 3. So 2 times 3, alright, 6. That's why the answer is x raised to 6. Okay po. Next. Number 2. Quantity of m raised to 4 raised to 3. So same procedure. So you can see m raised to 4 enclosed by a parenthesis, and you have the exponent 3 outside. So all you need to do is multiply the exponents. So 3 times 4, that's 12. That's why the final answer will be m raised to 12. Now let's have number 3. Number 3, quantity 2 squared raised to 3. Alright, so once again, you have 2 squared enclosed by a parenthesis, and you have the exponent 3 outside. So all you need to do is multiply the exponents. So 2 times 3. Alright, 6. So that's why 2 raised to 6 is the final answer. Alright? So once again, that's the power of a power. Wherein, if you have a given base and an exponent enclosed by a parenthesis, and you have another exponent outside of the parenthesis, all you need to do is multiply the exponent outside of the parentheses to the exponent inside. Alright, so m times n, mn. So x raised to mn. Alright, based on the illustration. Okay, nakikita nyo naman. So, next law. Once again, yung first law natin is all about product of powers, or also known as product rule. And the second one is this, the power of a power. Now let's have the third one. Ah, by the way, I'm so sorry, I forgot this one. So you have, in number 3 example, you have 2 raised to 6. It's not already simplified because 2 raised to 6, so you can expand that, 2 raised to 6. You can expand that base or using the exponent 6, meaning to say you need to use 2 as a factors 6 times. So that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 64. Okay, so 64 is the final answer. Okay, yun talaga yung pinaka-final answer. Sorry kanina, I forgot na 2 is a quantity, not a variable. Alright, sige, moving on. The next law is the power of a product. Alright, so the first one kanina, the first law kanina is all about product of powers or product rule, and followed by the power of a power. And the next, this one, power of a product. So power of a product, quantity of x y raised to m is equals to x raised to m y raised to m. So the power of a product states that if you have a given, no, if you have a given bases that are being multiplied, and it was enclosed by a parenthesis, and outside of that parenthesis has an exponent. So all you need to do, class, is distribute the exponent outside of the parentheses or any grouping symbol to the inside or to the terms inside of it. All right. As you can see, the terms inside are x and y, and you have the exponent outside of the parenthesis, which is m. So, dinistribute lang siya sa loob. That's why we got x raised to m, y raised to m. Now, let's have examples. Number 1. Quantity of xy squared raised to 3. So, based on the concept, all we need to do is distribute the exponent 3 to the terms inside the parentheses. So meaning to say, exponent 3 will be given to x, and then exponent 3 will be given to y squared. That's why we will have x cubed multiplied by quantity of y squared raised to 3. Alright, so now we can simplify it further by using the power of a power. So quantity of y squared raised to 3. So we just need to multiply the exponents 2 and 3. So 2 times 3, that's 6. So the final answer will be x cubed y raised to 6. Okay? Now let's have number 2. Number 2, quantity of 3p squared cube. So same procedure. We're going to distribute the exponent 3 to the terms inside of the parentheses. So, ibibigay natin sa exponent 3 kay 3 at ibibigay natin kay p squared. So, diniretso na yung sa p squared. Alright? So, since may exponent din sa p, which is squared, or 2, and then you have an exponent outside of the parentheses, so, ang ginawa lang is minultiply lang sila. 2 times 3, and that is 6. Alright? And then let's simplify it further by solving 3 cubed. What is 3 cubed? That's 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Okay? And then p raised to 6. That's why the final answer will be 27p raised to 6. Now, number 3. Number 3, we have quantity of 2a squared raised to 4. So, distribute the exponent 4 to the terms inside the parentheses. So we will have 2 raised to 4 and a raised to 8. We just multiply, or we already multiply the exponents. So 2 and 4, 2 times 4, 8. That's why we got 2 raised to 4, a raised to 8. Right? Now, let's simplify it further by solving 2 raised to 4. What is 2 raised to 4? That's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Alright. 16. So the final answer will be 16a raised to 8. So once again, class, that's the that's the power of a product, rather. Product of a power. If you are multiplying, or if you're multiplying and it was in the terms was enclosed by a parenthesis, and you have the exponent outside of it, all you need to do is distribute that exponent to the terms inside of the parentheses. Alright? So, moving on. Quotient of powers. Kanina, the law is all about multiplication. This time, division naman. Alright? Quotient of powers. So, recall muna natin yung mga laws na na-discuss natin. Ang una ay yung product of powers, or also known as product rule, followed by power of a power, and product power of a product rather, and this one quotient of powers. Quotient of powers, illustration x raised to m over x raised to n is equals to x raised to m minus n. So in division class, if you're dividing with same base or common base, all you need to do is copy the common or same base and then subtract their exponents. Alright? So as you can see in the illustration, the common base is x and then the exponents are m and n. So all we need to do, copy the common base x and then subtract their exponents m and n. So that's why we got x raised to m minus n. Right? Now, if n is greater than n, so the result will be on the examples. So ngayon class, ang bibigay lang natin ay puro mas mataas yung exponent na nasa, or mas greater yung exponent na nasa numerator. Alright? And aside from that class, hindi pwedeng baliktarin, no? Yung nasa illustration natin, if you have x raised to m over x raised to n, hindi siya pwedeng gawing x raised to n minus m. Right? Kung ano po yung numerator kung ano yung exponent na nasa numerator, yun yung magiging minuend dun sa exponent ha. At kung ano naman yung nasa denominator na exponent, yun din yung magiging subtrahend. Alright? Alright. Sir, pwede bang maging greater than yung maging less than yung m sa n? Yes, pwede po yun. Kaso magkakaroon ka ng negative exponent. Pero later, i-discuss natin yung negative exponent para alam nyo kung on how to deal with negative exponents. Alright? So for now, let's talk about m greater than n. Right? So number one example, a raised to m over a raised to, a raised to 5 over a raised to 2. Alright, so as you can see here class, we're dividing the a raised to 5 and a raised to 2, no? And to divide that, all we need to do, or to solve that, or to simplify that, all we need to do is copy the common or same base a and then subtract their exponents. 5 minus 2. So we will have a raised to 5 minus 2. Solve, and we will have a raised to 3. Alright, that's the final answer. And next, number 2, x raised to 5, y raised to 4 over xy. So as you can see, we have two variables here. And to simplify this one, we need to find the common bases. So first common base is yung x. So parehong base nila. So meaning to say, since the operation is division, we need to copy the common base x first and then subtract their exponents, 5 and 1. That's why it will become x raised to 5 minus 1. The next common base is y. Alright? And then subtract their exponents, 4 and 1, so 4 minus 1. That's why we have here x raised to 5 minus 1, y raised to 4 minus 1. Solve, and we will get x raised to 4, y raised to 3. Alright? So that's the final answer, class. And once again, that's the concept of quotient of powers. Na kapag nagdi-divide ka na may same base or common base, all you need to do is copy the common or same base and subtract their exponents. Alright? Next law. Power of a quotient. So, recall ulit natin yung mga previous laws. Product of powers, or also known as product rule. Power of a power. Power of a product. Quotient of powers, or also known as quotient rule. And the next one, the power of a quotient. Quantity of x over y rather. Quantity of x over y raised to m is equals to x raised to m over y raised to m. So this concept, class, as you can see, all you need to do, like doon sa ating power of a product, nag-distribute lang tayo. So same here in the power of a quotient. Just distribute the exponent outside of the parentheses to the terms inside. As you can see, we have here, we have a term in the numerator and a term in the denominator. So x and y. So we just distribute m to the base or base to in the numerator and base in the denominator. So basta kapag may nakita kayong terms class, i-distribute nyo agad yung exponent na nasa labas. Bibigyan nyo lahat ng nasa loob. Alright? Okay, so let's have examples. By the way, before we proceed to examples, take note of this one class. This is very important na nakalimutan ko, no? Nobody's perfect. Kadalasan nakakalimot tayo. Once again, class, y should not be equal to 0. Why? If y becomes 0, therefore yung denominator mo magiging 0. Okay? Bawal po yon. Because kapag meron kang denominator na 0, it is undefined or indeterminate. Now, if you're going to confirm that using a scientific calculator, for example, you type 1 over 0, 5 over 0, 6 over 0, okay, the computer will tell you that is a math error. That it is a math error. Okay? Meaning to say it is undefined or indeterminate. Now, let's have examples. Quantity of a over b cubed. So as you can see, class, we have a on the numerator and b in the denominator. So all we need to do, class, is distribute the exponent 3 to the terms inside. So a and b, that's why we will have a raised to 3 and over b raised to 3. Okay po. Kasi may term tayo sa numerator at may term din tayo sa denominator. So distribute lang natin yung exponent 3 sa loob. Alright? At bigyan natin isa-isa bawat terms sa numerator at bawat terms sa denominator. Ito madali lang kasi isa lang naman. Tag-isa lang naman. Alright? So let's have number 2. Quantity of 2 over 3 raised to 3. Same procedure. We're going to distribute exponent 3 to the terms in the term in the numerator and to the term in the denominator. So it will become 2 raised to 3 over 3 raised to 3. Okay? And then solve, what is 2 cubed? That's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And then 3 cubed, that's 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. So 8 over 27. Now, we need to simplify it. We need to simplify it if necessary. 8 over 27. Alright, it is already simplified. Because 8 and 27 are relatively prime. Meaning to say, their GCF is 1. Or, there is no number that there's no same number that can divide to 8 and 27, both 8 and 27, no, except 1. So wala lang pwedeng divide sa kanila na number except 1. Okay, kapag ganun yung nangyari, ibig sabihin nakasimplify na yan. Alright, so that will be the final answer in number 2. Okay, so once again, class, that's the concept of power of a quotient. Now, if you are dividing terms or bases and it was enclosed by a parenthesis, and outside of that parenthesis you have another exponent, so all you need to do is distribute that exponent outside of the parenthesis to the inside. Okay, sige, so we're done. Class, ulitin lang natin class yung mga laws. We have the product of powers, or also known product rule, power of a power, power of a product, quotient of powers, or also known as quotient rule, and then the power of a quotient. Now, let's have our lesson proper for today. Simplifying exponential expressions. So, from the word exponent, exponential, no? From the word exponent, and then expressions. So, when you say expressions, yun yung mathematical statement, no, in math. So, meaning to say, exponential expressions is a mathematical statement that involves exponents. Alright? As simply as that. That's the definition of exponential expressions. So, exponential expressions are said to be in simplest form if. So we have the following conditions to know if that given exponential expressions are already in simplest form. So let's have number 1. The exponent are positive. So dapat wala na negative sign sa exponent ninyo. And number 2, there are no powers of powers. So meaning to say, class, meron ka ng exponent and naka-enclose ng parenthesis at naka-raise pa sa isa pang exponent. And so on and so forth. So, bawal yon. Kailangan, kung nakasimplify, dapat wala lang ganun. Wala lang powers of powers. Next, number 3, each base appears only once. So, kung meron kayong same base or common base, kailangan isang beses lang makikita yon. Okay, kung pare-pareho lang naman yung base, then simplify it. You can apply the the product of powers or quotient of powers. Alright? Next, number 4, all fractions are in the simplest form. So, kailangan class nakasimplified din yung mga fractions ninyo. Alright? Now, let's talk about zero and negative exponents. Zero exponent. M raised to 0 is equals to 1. Where M should not be equal to 0. Bawal yun, class. Kasi kapag yung M mo ay naging 0 at nagkaroon ka ng 0 raised to 0, that's undefined or indeterminate. Now, once again, if you're going to check that in a scientific calculator will tell you that it is a math error. Okay? Ibig sabihin, it is undefined or indeterminate. Alright? So, meaning to say, class, any number excluding 0, ibig sabihin hindi kasama yung 0, with an exponent of 0 is equal to 1. Alright? Now, let's confirm, no, kung talaga yung m raised to 0 is equals to 1. Ang gagawin natin, we're going to multiply m raised to 0 to m. So, dapat kapag i-multiply natin yung m raised to 0 sa m, ang sagot ay m. Okay? Now, let's have m raised to 0 times m. So, if we're going to multiply that, we're going to use the concept of the uh, product of powers or product rule. We're going to copy the same base or common base m, and then we're going to add their exponents, 0 and 1. That's 0 plus 1. So we will have m raised to 0 plus 1. And we're going to solve that or simplify that. We will have the m raised to 1. Alright? By identity, because 0 plus 1 is 1. And we all know m raised to 1 is equals to 1, right? Alright, so dito pa lang, class, na confirm na natin that m raised to 0 is 1 because after multiplying it to m, the result is m. Since only 1 can be multiplied by m, that will give a product that is equal to m. So ito yung sinabi ko kanina. And using multiplicative identity. So as you can see, class, kapag nag-multiply tayo, like for example, no, yung m raised to 0, pwede kasi siyang isulat ng m raised to m, right? Kasi yung m raised to m, applying the quotient of powers, we're going to copy the same base and then subtract their exponents, which is 1 over 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0. That's why we got m raised to 0. And if you're going to simplify m raised to m over m, rather m over m, by division, m divided by m, that's totally 1, right? So, ayun, nakuha na kaagad natin or pinakita na kaagad dito, class, or prove na kung bakit yung m raised to 0 is equals to 1. Alright po? So, let's have examples. Write each expressions without using exponents. Alright, so solution in letter A. We have d squared over d squared. If you're going to use the concept of division, alam na kagad yung sagot, which is 1, right? But this time, we're going to use the concept of the law of exponents. We're going to divide this one using the concept of quotient of powers or quotient rule. To divide, we're going to copy the common base letter D and then subtract their exponents. So that's 2 minus 2. So we will have d raised to 2 minus 2, and simplify, we will have d raised to 0. And take note, any number base you raise to 0 except 0, the result is 1. So that's why the final answer in letter A is 1. Now let's have letter B. 5 raised to z over 5 raised to z. Alright, so copy the common base and then subtract their exponents. So z minus z. And that will be 0. So 5 raised to 0. Once again, any number you raise to 0 except 0, the result is 1. Alright? Next, let's have letter C. 5q raised to 0. Alright, so 5q raised to 0, take note of this, class, yung q lang ang naka-raise sa 0, hindi kasama si 5. So meaning to say, yung q raised to 0 is equivalent to 1. So therefore, you have 5 times 1. Now, let's multiply. And the result, that is 5, right? The result is 5. Okay, so that's the final answer in letter C. Alright? Class, once again, that's the zero exponent. Okay, if you have a given zero exponent, that's very simple, right? Because any number you raise to zero except zero, the result is 1. Alright, next, let's have the negative exponents. Now, let's have the illustration. M raised to negative x is equals to 1 over m raised to x. And m raised to x is equals to 1 over m raised to negative x. Alright? So kung makikita natin class yung illustration, makikita natin kaagad na kapag nagbago yung sign ng exponent, napapalitan din o nababago din yung position niya. Okay? So from m raised to negative x, nung naging positive yung exponent, napunta siya sa denominator. No? From numerator, nung pinalitan yung negative exponent na negative x or negative x exponent, nung pinalitan yon, naging positive na, pero napunta naman siya sa denominator. Alright? And, nakita niyo naman to, m raised to x. It is positive, right? Kaso nung naging negative siya, napunta siya sa ilalim. Alright? Okay. So, mamaya natin sasabihin yung pinaka-concept niya. For now, m should not be equal to 0 and x is a counting number. Now, to show that m raised to negative x equals to 1 over m raised to x, imumultiply natin yung m raised to x sa m raised to negative x. So, dapat, kapag binultiply ko to, ang sagot ay 1. Alright? Kasi multiplicative multiplicative identity. Alright? Kasi yung 1 over m raised to x. So, dapat, kapag binultiply ko yan, maka-cancel yon, so magiging 1 na lang. Tingnan natin. M raised to x times m raised to negative x. So, using the product of powers or product rule, alright? So, copy the common base and add their exponent. So, x plus negative x, and that will be 0. So, m raised to 0. So, what is m raised to 0? Any number or base you raise to 0 except 0, the result is 1. That's why you want. Okay? So, hence, m raised to negative x is the reciprocal of m raised to x. So, class, all you need to do kapag involved sa negative exponents o gusto nyo makuha yung negative exponents, ang kailangan nyo lang gawin is change the sign of the exponent and get its reciprocal. Once again, if you want to remove the negative exponents or have a negative exponent, all you need to do is change the sign of the exponent and get its reciprocal. Okay? Alright, so let's have examples. Simplify the following and write your answers with positive exponents. Letter A. Let's have letter A first. 7 raised to negative 4. So as you can see, class, we have a negative exponent here, which is 4, negative 4. So all we need to do, class, is remove the negative sign and get the reciprocal. So kapag tinanggal natin yung negative sign dyan, magiging 7 raised to 4. Ano yung reciprocal ng 7 raised to 4? Ang reciprocal ay 1 over 7 raised to 4. Alright? And then after that, let's solve for 7 raised to 4. Ang 7 raised to 4, class, is equivalent to 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. And that's 1 over 2,401. So that will be the final answer in letter A. Next, letter B. Quantity of 4s raised to negative 5. So, remove the negative sign and get the reciprocal. So, kapag tinanggal natin yung negative sign, magiging siyang quantity of 4s raised to 5 and get the reciprocal, magiging 1 over quantity of 4s raised to 5 na siya. Alright? And now, let's simplify it further. So, sa denominator, pwede natin i-apply dyan yung power of a power wherein we're going to distribute the exponent with 5 inside the parentheses. I-distribute lang natin siya doon sa loob ng parentheses. So, magkakaroon tayo ng 1 over 4 raised to 5 s raised to 5. Alright, simplifying further, yung nasa denominator natin, yung 4 raised to 5, that's 1,024. And then yung s raised to 5, s raised to 5. Siyempre. So, we have now the final answer, 1 over 1,024 s raised to 5. Alright? Okay. Now, let's have letter C. Okay, we have here 3 raised to 4 times 3 raised to negative 3 over 3 raised to 6. So, in here, class, numerator, simplify nyo muna. So, multiplication, we're going to apply the product of powers or product rule. We're going to copy the common base or same base and then add their exponents. So, we will have 3 raised to 4 plus negative 3 over 3 raised to 6. Simplify, i-add muna natin. What is 4 plus negative 3? That's 1, right? So, we will have now 3 raised to 1 over 3 raised to 6. Now, as you can see, this is division and magkapareho yung base nila. So, ibig sabihin, just copy the common base according to the quotient of powers or quotient rule. Copy the common base or same base and subtract their exponents. So, 1 minus 6. So, we will have now 3 raised to 1 minus 6. Okay, the result now will be 3 raised to negative 5. As you can see, we have a negative sign. Remove the negative sign and to the exponent in the exponent, remove the negative sign in the exponent and get the reciprocal. So, magiging 3 raised to 5 yan. Anong reciprocal ng 3 raised to 5? 1 over 3 raised to 5. Alright? And next, solve natin yung 3 raised to 5. That's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 243. That's why the final answer will be 1 over 243. Now, if you're going to, you can try other methods no, to solve this kind of problem or given. You can, since as you can see, no, magkakapareho lang naman ng bases, ibig sabihin, you can just copy the common base 3 and then after that, yung nasa numerator, since multiplication yan, so you're going to add the exponents at divide dun sa denominator 6, so mag-minus ka. Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng 3 raised to 4 plus negative 3 minus 6. Nakuha po. Sir, bakit ulit nag-minus dun sa 6? Kasi nga, division yon according to the quotient of powers or quotient rule. Alright, kapag may magkapareho yung base, mag-minus ko sa exponents. Alright? Kapag multiplication naman, mag-add ka sa exponents. So, 4 plus negative 3 minus 6. So, magiging negative 5 kasi 4 plus negative 3, that's positive 1. And 1 minus 6, that's negative 5. That's why 3 raised to negative 5. And same procedure of what we did in the first method. Alright, remove the negative sign and get the reciprocal. So, we will have 1 over 3 raised to 5. And what is 3 raised to 5? That's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, right? Which is 243. That's why we have 1 over 243. Same result as we've got no from the first method we used. All right? Now, let's solve letter D. 2 raised to negative 4 times 3 raised to 6 times 3 raised to negative 3 times 2 raised to 2. All right, so as you can see, we have many bases here or common bases, 2 and 3. So let's have first the 2. Copy the common base 2 and then add the exponent. So we have negative 4 and 2. That's why we have here 2 raised to negative 4 plus 2. And the next common base is 3. So add the exponent 6 and negative 3. That's why we have here 3 raised to 6 plus negative 3. And then solve. Negative 4 plus 2, that's negative 2. That's why we got here 2 raised to negative 2. And then 6 plus negative 3 is positive 3. That's why we got here 3 raised to 3. So now let's multiply 2 raised to negative 2 times 3 raised to 3. Ayan, as you can see class, magkaiba sila ng base. So ibig sabihin, hindi natin sila pwedeng gamitan ng product of powers. Alright? So gawin na lang natin, tanggalin muna natin yung negative doon sa exponent ng 2 raised to negative 2. So remove the negative sign and get the reciprocal. And the reciprocal will be 1 over 2 raised to 2 and multiply by 3 cube. So, ayan, multiply na natin. So, we get now 3 cube over 2 squared. And then solve for that. What is 3 cube? That's the 3 times 3 times 3 and 2 squared, 2 times 2. So, we have 27 over 4. Now, Is 27 over 4 simplifiable? No, it's not. Because it is already simplified. Because 27 4 are relatively prime. Wala nang pwedeng i-divide sa kanilang number except 1. Or their GCF is 1 already. Kaya hindi na sila pwedeng i-simplify. O hindi na siya pwedeng i-simplify. That's why 27 over 4 is the final answer in letter D. Okay? So class, once again, that's the negative exponents. And the negative exponents, if you have a given, okay, such thing, or if you have a given a negative exponent, all you need to do is remove the negative sign and get the reciprocal. That's all. All right? So, next na tayo. Now, to end this discussion, I want to share with you this quotation by Andy McIntyre. If you think education expensive, try ignorance. Class, kapag inisip mo ng edukasyon ay masyadong magastos, subukan mo ang pagiging ignorante o pagiging walang alam. Alright? Kapag wala kang alam, mas mapapagastos ka ng sobra at mahal. Alright? Let me give you an example. Halimbawa, i-compare natin kapag nakapagtapos ka ng pag-aaral at may trabaho ka, sa hindi ka nakapagtapos ng pag-aaral at may trabaho ka lang na may mababang sahod. Simulan natin sa kapag hindi ka nakapagtapos ng pag-aaral at hindi ka nakakuha ng magandang trabaho na may mataas na sahod. Ang tendency, class, kapag nagkaroon ka ng family or pamilya, sariling pamilya, pag nakatanggap mo yung sahod mo, is mabilis ka agad maubos dahil ang daming gastusin. Bills, groceries, pagkain, and then pang-aral pa ng mga anak mo kung may mga anak ka na. Ang tendency, class, pag hawak mo ng sahod mo, sabihin mo, ang bilis naman ng pera, ang mamahal ng mga bilihin. Right? Pero, ano kaya mangyayari kung nag-aral ka na mabuti at nakapaghanap ka ng magandang trabaho na may mataas na sahod? At least kahit pa paano may masasave ka para sa sarili mo at para sa future ng mga magiging anak mo. Right? So class, pag-isipan ng mabuti, mag-aral ng mabuti, study hard, and don't give up on your dreams. Okay? That's all for today. Thank you for listening and attending my class. God bless you all and happy learning.